Alright, so I want to go ahead and clarify something about court orders, just that way it's understood. Just that way you understand that being deceptive on the specifics of details of a court order in an attempt to try to alienate the other parent, it will blow up in your face and it will fuck you over. Alright? So understand, if it says in the court order, like what I just ended up sending a screenshot of saying, no alcohol in the house, during the child's visitation. All right? Understand, if you go ahead and try to go and claim that the other person, because of that agreement, had alcohol in the house, in an attempt to go ahead and slander them, to try to leverage, more visitation or more custody or, as a cause of separation, to, be like, well, obviously they don't listen to the court order anyway. Understand something. If you weaponize it in a way, like, for example, be like, no, we're malicious compliancing this. It says in the court order that there's to be no alcohol in the home when, during the child's visitation. Understand, if what you're referencing is that there is alcohol in the home during that court order or during that child's visitation, but there is nobody, and I repeat, nobody in charge of looking after that child partaking in said alcohol. That alcohol being in the home is not a breach of that court order. If it was in the home and they were partaking in that alcohol while watching that child, or that child being in their, in their custody at that moment, that's a problem. Alcohol being in the home, but not being consumed, that is not breaching the court order. And understand, if you bring it in front of a judge and you end up going ahead and being asked directly, so when you say that stipulation and condition was violated, were you saying and trying to mince words and say there was alcohol in the home during that visitation? Or were you making a claim that there was alcohol during that visitation that was being consumed? Because if it was being consumed, then that court order was being breached. If that alcohol was not being consumed, then there was no breach in the actual court order. All right? So understand, alcohol ultimately, all right? Are you ready for this? Not everybody is complete and total alcoholics that drink all their alcohol at once. Not everybody picks up alcohol all the time. There are some people that literally go ahead and, for example, they get a bottle of alcohol, like, for example, they'll get it as a gift from, their employer. They'll get it as a gift if they work in hospitality, from people that, end up being regulars at their establishment. All right? Them having that alcohol in the home is not a breach of that order. All right? If they were to go ahead and decide that it was the opportune time to go ahead and partake in that alcohol during that visitation, that would be a breach. All right? And now, ready for this too. Ready for this. Ultimately, if you are claiming that alcohol was being consumed during that visitation, but, ready for this? It was a time that would be reasonable. All right? You ready? That the child would actually be asleep. All right? That literally, if that child was not asleep at that time, you would looked at as a negligent parent. Like, for example, if you decided, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm having a difficult time sleeping, I'd like to go ahead and be able to unwind. My child is completely and utterly asleep, has been completely and utterly asleep for a long while. And I am making sure that even with me going ahead and partaking in said alcohol, with child being asleep, there is still going to be, agreed upon, one person at least that has the capability of operating a motor vehicle, so if some instance were to happen that could potentially cause us, because of a medical emergency, to have to rush that child to a hospital. That right there, that would be so much of a reach that the court would look at you and say, you're grasping at straws. You're looking for any fucking reason. And if literally you think that right there is that ultimate breach, and you're having to mince words that much to find some type of fault or to make some type of claim to the other person that has custody and shared custody, to claim that they violated that agreement to try to leverage custody, not only can we tell the factor that that other parent is actually doing everything possible to try to actually be a good parent, but also the factor that you have to reach that much and nitpick that much to actually go ahead and try to find some type of fault and flaw. It's not unreasonable that the other person that you share custody with is trying to get away from you. It is clearly not a healthy custody agreement. If anything, it's clearly not even a viable co-parenting agreement. And at that point, you gotta worry. Because if it keeps going in front of the judge repeatedly, the judge has the option to go ahead and be like, you know what? I got a solution. We're just going to deny any family members from getting custody. We're taking your custody away, and we're going to put them in a state-run facility. All right? So congratulations. Your child is now in foster care. You're literally so much of a deadbeat parent because you can't even go ahead and try to find some way to be civil enough to come to some type of arrangement. Clearly, you're not capable of being adults enough. How can we believe that you're going to actually make a good impression on that child? And you're going to fuck yourself, fuck that child, and fuck your co-parent all at the same time.